morning, everybody who is watching online. We're right here with a remarkable woman, and we would just like for everyone who's here on the floor and as well online to welcome each and everyone to this morning. We're going to have a good time right here in the presence of God. We're going to have a good time speaking about the life of Jochebed. I just wanted to introduce our panel here this morning. We've got Terry Ann Johnston over there. We've got Michaela Andrews. And our very special guest speaker is Evangelique Adams. Woo! We're so excited. We're going to have such a good time. But first of all, I'd like to wish each and every one of you who are watching online and on the floor who are mothers a happy Mother's Day. I know that it is a day early, but this is our Mother's Day special, and we would like to just make you feel special as well. We're going to have a nice session afterwards where we're going to be just joining with our mothers and, having a nice lunch and just crowning our mothers later on. So we'd really like you to be here. If you have the time to make it here, please, please, please make it here. But to jump right into it, we have Jochebed on the table. Yes. So Jochebed, just to give you a little bit of a story, a backstory on Jochebed. Jochebed was the mother of Moses. And when she fell pregnant, Pharaoh decided to kill all the babies. But Jochebed had a plan. God had given Jochebed the plan to make a basket, put her baby in the river, and her baby survived. But she could nurse, she could look after her child afterwards. So Evangelique, we'll just jump right into this. You have a beautiful, beautiful testimony, and we were speaking earlier, and as most people know, Evangelique is my sister, so we've shared a bit of things together, and there's a few things that we do know about each other, but it always makes me so emotional when you have to tell your story. So how would you relate that to Jochebed?
Oh. Let's first start with, how do you say Jochebed?
I struggled so much to say that
Every
name.
Every time I read it, I'm like, Jochebed. What the heck is that how you say it? But like I say, Bible times have their own way of pronunciation. We don't even know if we're saying that right. But so let me just be, okay? I am Evangelique Adams. I have two beautiful kids, and I am married to Ashley Adams, and we had our first baby, who is Scarlett, at the age of 26, and that's when I had my firstborn. On the 21st of August, 2016, Scarlett was born, and she was a perfect baby. When you give birth, doctors come to you, and they just hand you papers when you're laying there after birth, and you never know which doctor is for which department or those kind of things. And there was a doctor that came by and gave paperwork for a hearing test. But keep in mind, when you give birth and you need to do a hearing test or, blood test and everything, it's add-on costs. It's not costs that is automatically in your payment. I'm at this hospital, they're going to check if my baby's okay. And it was something I didn't take to heart, They just checked that there's no water in the ears. There was no water in the ears, and you're okay with that. And, you go for your checkups at the pediatrician every now and then, and nothing was ever picked up with Scarlett that something is wrong. And when Scarlett got to the age of about 15 months, I was at home with her, and it was the December leave from work. So automatically I stay at home, Ashley's still going to work. And Scarlett had her favorite, I can't even remember the program. I just know the girl's name was Annie and the dog's name is Ben. I don't know what the show is called. But it was like, your typical singing Baba Black Sheep, but in the different animation versions. And Scarlett dances to it. Every time the music comes up, she dances. And then one day, we were at home with Scarlett alone, and she was crying, but I was in the bathroom. And while being in the bathroom, she was screaming, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And I was like, yeah, I am. As a mother, you don't get your privacy, so the door is always open in case you hear something, the child needs to see you. And she walked past the bathroom, still calling me, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And that was my first moment of what's going on. I'm screaming, she's walking past me, and she just keeps going, crying. And then I finished up in the bathroom and I followed her. And she walked all the way to the front door. And the way the house was situated was like, it's one long passage. You can't go anywhere unless you go into a room. And she's still crying, "Mommy, mommy," and I'm walking behind her. First of all, it's wooden floors. I've got slippers on, so you automatically hear the and she's still walking. And when she got to the door and turned around and saw my face, automatically she started laughing, "Mommy!" And to me, that was a shock. How did you not hear me the last 6 minutes? And then all of a sudden, when you see me, you start laughing. So that was my first encounter. And then I found Ashley, and I'm like, "Babe, this is what happened." And you start testing. And I put on Annie and Ben, and she started dancing, but the TV was on mute. That was my second something is wrong, because there is no music playing, but she already related that that's coming with music. But then also makes us realize that Scarlett did have hearing, because how would she know that when Ben and Annie plays, I must dance? And one of the things that happened also, I know people is very breastfeeding activist and whatnot.
I know I was.
Yeah, she's very for the breastfeeding. Honestly, I am anti breastfeeding, because Scarlett's hearing was lost through a virus. And the virus, you're not too sure where it could have come from. It could be from somebody putting their finger in her mouth because she's teething. That's also why I can't stand when, "Mummies, please don't feel the need to put your fingers in someone else's child's mouth when they're teething," because this virus is CMV, and it's like a flu. But you just think your child has a cold, so anybody could have given it. As an adult, your body can fight it, so you just get your flu and you move on. With a child, it can affect so many things. And when we went to the doctor, it was literally 2 weeks later, and we did the hearing test. And that was my moment of, I can't do this. Because they do the hearing test, they put something in the child's ear, and everybody else in the room can hear it. It's like a cheek, but Scarlett is just sitting there. That was my biggest, what did I do wrong kind of moment. And I felt like that because I grew up in church. My parents are leaders. They started their church when I was 2 years old. How is this possible? I'm a Sunday school teacher. I've been in Sunday school teacher since the age of 16. I'm now 26. And this is what happens. How do I look after other people's kids and teach them the word of God? But when my child comes along, this is what happens. I had values and morals that were very Christ-like. Don't sleep around before marriage. I got married a virgin. That hit me as well. How did I do that right? Waited until marriage, and here's my chance to get a child, and that's what happens to me. So I blamed God on so many levels in terms of, why did you do this to me? You start thinking of people that do certain things, and when they get kids, everything is normal. They're rich, they're happy, and then you're like, but I did everything right, and I did it with God by my side. How did this happen? And in that time, it really hurt me because there was no one around at the moment. The friends that was there was a couple that I confided in, and nobody else knew, and that was the last time they spoke to us. And certain things like that kind of hit every time. And then my child's godmother, in that moment, haven't spoken to her since. And it plays on you emotionally as a woman. And eventually Scarlett got her cochleas, and we were so blessed. There were so many people that came to the party that you can't even mention names. Honestly, if I can say, more than 100 people pledged to help Scarlett with her operation. And the kind of tests that she went through. Scarlett, if you just walk into a clinic, she starts crying because she automatically relates it to her surgery. And at that time, Scarlett was 15 months. Keep in mind, I'm 8 months pregnant with Isaiah. And all of this is going on. Scarlett gets a cochlears. It takes, I can't even explain how long it took for her to get used to them, because switch on is only 5 to 6 weeks later, depending on the healing of the cochlears. And people don't understand, it's not like a hearing aid. It's an actual implant in the head. So they shave into your skull, they work in your ears and all those things. After Scarlett's operation, she couldn't walk, she couldn't eat, she couldn't sit. So now keep in mind, her switch on day is a day before I give birth to Isaiah. And now you're basically sitting with 2 pup babies because now both is on milk, both can't sit, both can't walk, those kind of things. Emotionally, it was like, you blame God. Why did this happen to me? And I always think if I hadn't been pregnant with Isaiah, I wouldn't have given it another go. It's just so, I don't even want to use the word tormenting, because I love my child dearly, and it's just the emotional side in that moment. The process, yeah. To learn to walk again, to learn to eat, going to therapy 3 times a week, and occupational therapy, doing the brushing system, so that, because there was a time she didn't wear clothing, because once she got her cochlear implants, the other senses heightened up so much that she couldn't handle clothes on her skin. And you're dealing with that. I had a C-section with Isaiah, and that I'm so grateful to my parents and Ashley's parents for always being there, because you have to lay there for 5 months, but you're sitting with 2 pup babies, and it was a hell of a roller coaster. And we just always keep in mind, when we prayed while I was pregnant, it was, God, can this child work in your kingdom as a healer? And I think that's what hit the most. You keep praying for, everybody prays, one day can my child be a lawyer, one day can they be an accountant, and our prayer was, can she be a healer? And that's what hurt the most, I would say. The fact that you prayed all this protection over your belly all this time, and for your child to work in the kingdom through healing, and then that's the one thing that's taken from your child. And up until today, still, we do therapy once a week. Thank God we don't have to do occupational anymore, because she is eating and she's wearing clothing. So there is hope, if I can say that. She's starting to speak. I don't know where you would like me to go from there, but that's my journey to now, yeah.
Being part of the journey, seeing all of that, and if you listen to Scarlett now, you would never say, if you don't know she has implants, you wouldn't say that, because she speaks, and she speaks audibly with you, and I think for us as a family, it's such an amazing journey, because the thought of her not being able to speak. Sorry guys, this is a very emotional, I hear it all the time, but I get so emotional, because as a mother, you don't want that for your child. And when I say you don't want that, we saw Evangelique going through putting your child under that operation, knowing the pain this child is going through and the recovery stage and all of that. So it does get emotional when you look at, as a mother, you want your child to be safe. You don't want your child to be hurt. You want your child to go through all the normal stages in life. But Scarlett does. It's maybe not the way we as a family or you as a mother might have thought it would happen. And I think relating that back to Jochebed, she had this child that, she's giving birth to this child, and God had given her this child, but now she's faced with having to give up that child in a certain way. So she had to give up this child. She had to come up with a plan. And I think this is what I wanted to ask you. How do you relate that now in terms of Jochebed got to raise a child not in the way she wanted to, but how does that make you feel as a mother towards Scarlett, towards your own child? You still get to raise your child.
Yeah, but obviously not. I would have been so happy if everything was smooth sailing. But if I can relate it to the story, I was thinking about, okay, after birth and you're hiding the child and the process of the child growing up with Pharaoh's daughter. And in my way, how I relate my story is I think about Scarlett and I'm giving birth, and you know that 3 months of protection is the time I didn't know what was happening, but you still protect your child as you would. And then when reading the passage, you realize, okay, the child can't stay that small. How are you going to hide the child for that long? The cries get louder. There's playing outside. There's everything. You can't hide a child after 3 months, and that's how long she hid Moses for before giving Moses up. And then I think about when she did put Moses in the basket, everything she did, the Bible explains all the materials she used to put Moses in. She didn't just put Moses on the water and say, go with it. And I think about it in terms of, with Scarlett, you know, as a Christian family and surrounded by so many Christian people, a lot of people was against us having the cochlears. There was so much negative talk behind the scenes. How can she jump into this? Why doesn't she wait for the healing process? And there were talks of they don't have enough faith and those kind of things. You can have all the faith in the world, but I think about Chocobet, there were. I think about her and the faith she had, not knowing where exactly, but she saw after giving birth, she saw that this child is something great. And I think that's what myself and Ashley and our parents saw in Scarlett, the potential she has. Automatically, you just know. And we saw it as a process of the faith of the cochlears and where it will take her. She can still be a healer. And I think about the faith that she had growing up, breastfeeding Moses, but not being able to say, I am your mother, kind of a thing. And I look at Scarlett and we go to therapy every week and the kind of things you have to do with her at home, because I was so emotional just this past Thursday. Every time you go to therapy, there's still something wrong. And you get to the point as, when is this going to be good? Because at that age, by the time she turns 5, she needs to catch up with her age. But she only has the hearing age of a 3-year-old. So her understanding is not at a 5-year-old yet, but she needs to catch up before 5. So when you hear the kind of things your child should be able to, your child should be able to say, your child should be able to do, those kind of things, I think of it as the process that Moses would have gone through, the faith behind the scenes, if I can put it that way. I did make a note exactly on that, where you can no longer hide the potential of your child. And Scarlett shows herself daily on the kind of person she's going to become. She is a caretaker. She is somebody that's always looking out for the next person's needs. And she's always, if your leg is sore, can I pray for you? That is Scarlett at her level. So I honestly believe that I'm just watching the process from outside, but I know the worth that is going to come. And we just wait for the day where she does become a little, like Moses only started choosing the Hebrews at the age of 40. So the mother's faith at 3 months, that's 40 years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. So I feel like I'm in that process of believing, but I'm still there to help you so that you can get to that point. Yeah.
I think, Van, if I can come in there, you said that you're still in the process. And I think how I relate also to Jochebed is she put Moses into the Nile, not knowing where he's going to end up. And I think you're still in that waiting. And I just want to know, how do you recharge your faith or activate your faith when, for instance, you go for those therapy sessions and you hear those things, it should be. Because I think with Jochebed, it could have been, but this should be my son that I get to stay with. It shouldn't be that he has to, that Pharaoh's law has come in, that all male baby should be slain. So I just would like to know, how do you get through those Thursdays? Or how, even before you go to a session, how do you deal with that?
Well, in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I sat in church on a Sunday and I literally just stared at the stage. I did not partake in anything, but I knew my faith is there, but it was in silence. It wasn't me screaming out, Lord, heal my child, whatnot. But I knew, how can I say, I knew what needed to be done. It's just my strength couldn't take me there in that specific time. But they don't speak about Moses' dad in the script. But how I get to that point also is Scarlett has an extremely supportive dad. Ashley gets me through a lot when it comes to those moments. He'd speak me through before a Thursday and say, don't think about this, don't think about that. Remember this, remember that. And I must say, if it had not been for Ashley, honestly, you know, many a times I do speak about the situation, but only your partner really knows your tears in the evening or something like that. And I get through a Thursday with that faith still, speaking with Ashley, him encouraging me all the time, but also Scarlett showing her growth. She shows, I don't know, she's such a determined little girl. When something is wrong, she doesn't even take her out. She goes, I forgot. But she knows she didn't know the answer, but she's like, I forgot. And then she says, ask again, those kind of things. So I think the fact that she also knows her potential, she doesn't think she's behind. She'll just ask, why can't I? And she'll practice the same thing over and over and over. And that is, she gets me through it, I'm not going to lie. As a mother, she gets me through it. And I think that's the same thing that Jochebed could have looked at, being in Moses' surrounding at the time, seeing him grow up. I think about, if you read further on in the text, and it speaks about how Moses got the education of an Egyptian, how he got the war of an Egyptian, but you know your prayers to God, and God already laid the message in your heart when giving the child up. So you see the process that is needed. So I think of it, if I can just say, if I must think of her as Moses, I think of it as my child is going to work in the kingdom. She plays church all the time. She gets in a little car and Isaiah will say, let's go shopping. And she says, but we're first going to church. That's her play, driving to church. And I think of the process of her relating with somebody that needs healing. I think of it as a process of her being able to relate be on the same level. I went through that. So when my time comes and I am ready to serve, it's not I read about, I researched about, it's I've been there, and this is how I got out of it. And that's really what gets me through everything, knowing that this is her process for her time. So the same way Moses, 40 years later, used everything he learned in Pharaoh's house. He used it against them, but you get what I'm saying? The devil intended for her not to go to certain places and to reach certain goals, but with the knowledge and the therapy and everything, the operations, the checkups, the constant booth sitting, all those things, I feel like it's her process to get to the point of now I'm standing here for my people. Yeah.
Okay. Always when it's my turn to say something, then you just like killed it. Like so. So I was thinking a while ago, while I was doing my study this week, and I remembered when you did like a sermon with Pastor Joan, I think 2 years ago, and then something that you mentioned also now was you prayed for her to work in the kingdom, and you specifically was healing. And while you were preaching that sermon that day, and I was like, oh, now that I'm looking at when I was doing the study with Moses, if you prayed in that sense, like you prayed for healing specifically, I'm not sure how, like, can you imagine, like in your wildest imagine this would have happened to your daughter, because now her hearing has been taken away from her. And it's the same like with Jochebed. So she had to give her child up due to the circumstance and situation at hand. But there is a testimony that comes with it after that. In order for you, like you just mentioned, in order for you to really like work in the kingdom in that specific area, you need to go through a certain trial. And as a mother, you know, sometimes our children are rebellious, and if I look at Jochebed, I don't like, yes, like having to give a child away at that age, you know. And I look at your story, and I saw your post in a week, like I could not, I'm just going to admit that when I saw that status, because going through, like, we all have our challenges and we all have our situations with our children, but seeing how your child has to go through that process, and you know, I don't want to ask something because you already covered most of the things, you know, and I just want to say, I want to take this opportunity just to encourage you, you know, and I want to say to you, know, I wanted to send you a message, but I'm like, let me do it on this platform. You need to trust the process, because I see Scarlett like she's going to be a pillar in the kingdom, and she's going to, in a healing sense, she's going to come out so strong because she's going to be healed. Scarlett is going to hear. She's going to get the hearing back. But she has to go through this whole process so that she can have a testimony. And the same like with Moses. Moses had to go through all that in order for him to deliver. If you look at the Bible and the great things he did, and it would have never surfaced if he didn't go through what he had to go through. And that is how I see it with Skylar. And I just want to encourage you just to, you know, hold on, just be strong, and just trust the process. She's going to make it, and she's going to make it strong. Scarlett is going to stand on this very same pulpit, on this platform, and she's going to deliver her testimony. And it's going to be a hope and strength for another person, or for whoever is going to go through the exact same thing. I just want to encourage you that.
Thanks, Terry. I've just been sitting here and thinking that as a mother, my kids is also very small, like Evangelique's kids, but already our kids have taught us so much, and we ask ourselves, but how did our parents do it? How did our mothers do it in their time? Like, things just happened, and you start seeing that there must have been an immense display of strength, you know, of faith. You start to come to understand why your mother said certain things, or why your mother did certain things, and if I have to look back on the Bible and look at so many different stories, all the people who made an impact in the Bible didn't have a good story to begin with. They started out with trials and tribulations. They started out with hardships, and like Terry said, you need to trust the process. You see that these things happen because they need to be prepared for where they need to be. If you have to look at Moses, he had to, like you said, he had to be in Pharaoh's palace. He had to learn what's going on in the palace. He had to learn the culture. He had to learn to blend in. He had to know what protocol was in the Egyptian culture. So when he eventually needed, and he played such a pivotal part in getting the Israelites out of Egypt. And if he didn't know what protocol was, if he didn't know what needed to be done or how to approach the king, I don't think it would have played out the way it played out. But, you know, God had to teach him. God had to take him through that process. And yes, 40 years is a long time. But there's preparation that needs to take place. If it's not coming to fruition yet, there's still something that needs to take place. You still need to be prepared for something, because God knows if you go now in your situation, if Scarlett goes now, she won't be prepared. She won't, because people will ask her questions. But how do you know? I must trust for my healing, but you didn't go through something. There's a process. You need to first experience certain things. So I honestly believe that her whole journey is going to come full circle. And Terry already mentioned that. And I think you do know that, because you already say it's already coming into play. Because if our kids are okay, we kind of also okay. We don't take the time to spend in prayer with them. I remember with my kids, so a little bit of a personal thing for us is we don't have medical aid. So when my kids are sick, I need to take the oil. I need to pray with my child, because there's no such thing as going to the doctor or quickly going into desk game. It's a matter of I need to pray, and my kids see that. So I think a lot of the times God doesn't allow certain things because he knows we'll just become comfortable. He knows that we'll just be okay with it because, oh, there is money to go do this. Oh, there is, but there's still a journey that you must have, a faith journey. You must build your own faith as a mother. And I think that's what our parents went through, because back in the day, there was a lot less than what we had now. And we have comfort zones now. So trust the process. Be that person. And the other thing that also stood out for me was that as a mother, Jochebed could have been so bitter. She could have said, I'm not raising this child. Why must I go breastfeed this child? A child I can't take home, a child that's supposed to be my blessing. Why must I? But as a mother, you put your child first. You say, but this is my child's safety. At least my child could have been dead. But now my child is growing up in royalty. Yeah. He's growing up with anything that he could have asked for. He's growing up in abundance. And if I have to relate that with Scarlett, I think there's so much love for Scarlett. There's so much, everyone's like, hi, can I do this? In terms of like when we're around, or people are interested to know, I don't know, that's part of your testimony. Is there abundance for you and Scarlett and in the situation that you are now? In the beginning there wasn't, but now, how is it for you? Yeah, like love. Is there people who are supportive? And I think if I have to look, my dad was very supportive. God put people in place for that. What's your view on that? How do you feel about that?
I do feel there is a lot of love for Scarlett. Like I said, Scarlett is also a very loving person. Yeah. So automatically, I don't know, she just draws closer. But like I said, and everybody mentioned, unfortunately, when you have gone through something, it's more relatable. Yeah. And it is like that in any situation. You become relatable. Just a small thing, I made my post on Thursday, speaking about the abundance of love and appreciation, the amount of messages that comes through, keep strong, phone calls, those kind of things. And just last night, a random person just phoned me, well, not phoned, DM'd me, and they're like, I have a situation, I found out my child was deaf last year. And my child is only having a surgery next week. And I explained our process because she asked me about the process. And that's when I also realized how abundant our love is. We found out on the 27th of January about Scarlett's hearing. And the 25th of February, she had an operation. That is exactly a month. Keep in mind, the operation is just under R1 million. It took somebody 1 whole year to get funds for one side, as with the world, I can't even say just my parents, just family, just friends, the world came together and sent money on GoFundMe and everything. And I think that is a blessing we can say. If it took someone else 1 year to build up the funds for one side, and it took us a month to build up the funds for Scarlett for a simultation implant. You can't deny the fact that there was grace. Exactly. Because, do you get what I'm trying to say? The grace is abundant. And then just the fact also, like how so many mothers, a lot of times I get told I'm complaining. Someone will tell me, delete that post, you seem weak. And I say, I'm not deleting the post because I don't have someone I look up to on social media because I keep on thinking I'm alone in this. Yes. There's no one walking the road with me. So if you can DM me your story, why aren't we brave enough to post it so that someone else out there feels like there's somebody walking with me as well? And going back to the mother I'm speaking about that contacted me last night, she's like, I've been searching since last year for somebody whose child is going through this because I'm scared about the operation. And I hashtagged cochlear implant South Africa and your post came up. And that's what I want to encourage from the mother side, because this is Scarlett's story. It's my strength and Ashley's strength that's getting her to get to a point. But as a mother, I need to encourage other mothers. It's not over. There's other people going through the exact same thing as you. My life is not perfect. Let's do this together. And if I am lonely, know there's someone else that's lonely in their situation as well. And let's come together and speak in our loneliness. You know, I always say it's so easy for women to come together and gossip about someone else, but not their own problems. And I always feel like if there was somebody I could come to and speak to and say, how tough was your week? Oh, Janne, this, I couldn't handle this screaming and that screaming. It's my problem, so let me speak about I'm not discussing you. So let us discuss ourselves on a platform where it's encouraging that you're not alone. Exactly. Don't just say, you got this, the strength, the this, the that, because that's not going to get me through my situation. Exactly. It's a matter of, I'm not in this alone. Let me just take this relief. And you don't always want to complain to your partner or your parents where people think you're struggling. You want to speak to someone that relates with you. And
So just on that, Vanji, do you think this entire process has made you evolve on what you saw weakness as? Because now you're saying like weakness is complaining, whereas strength is found in vulnerability. So do you find, were you as vulnerable about your life prior to this, or do you find that now you find more strength in your vulnerability and sharing with people?
I do think I have a lot more strength at the moment, but I didn't know how to bring it out, if that makes sense. I grew up always being the back person. Nothing against ANKA, but like when people would hear who my parents is, they're like, oh, are you ANKA? Nobody knew I existed. So certain things like that, it puts you back into a space. It puts you, when I go out with people I think is friends, when they introduce me, they say, this is my pastor's daughter. I have a name. And I thought we were friends. I didn't know we're in the same company because of who my parents is. So that put me in a space where I became extremely timid, not being able to stand up for myself, and not having my own identity. And this situation allowed me to become my full Evangelique, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of talk about Mrs. South Africa at the moment that's negative. But if you know why you're doing something for a certain reason, nothing should affect you. And I went in there with the mindset of, I need to find Evangelique without anybody from church, without any family, and without any connections. So I walked into a platform not caring about what you want from me, but I went in with the thought of, what can I get out of this? And I got my confidence. Since the age of 13, I've been wearing board shorts when you go swim. It took something as simple as being judged in a bikini to get me out of something that's shallow. Do you get what I'm saying? Where I don't care what you think about me. And this situation allowed me to get to that point of, I need to find me to be strong for my child. And I would say that's how, yes, it definitely gave me the strength and the opportunity.
Can I just touch base on the comments from our efamily, if you don't mind? So we have a message from Motlapelo. The sister Evangelique, putting fingers in on children's mouth is bad. Then we have a comment from Lorraine Stalls. This is so profound, as we as Christians should know that bad things do happen to us too. Regardless of the good deeds and faith we have. Today, Venge, your test is a great testimony that will and is encouraging someone right now that's going through the most. God, we give you all the glory, as you said. I'm just going to skip that. And then we have a comment from Ashley, which is Evangelique's husband. Scarlett is saying, hello, guys. And then it's Maggie. Wow, this is enlightening, about putting one's finger in the mouth of a teething baby. Okay. And then we have a comment from Alma. With purpose comes pain, but God lifts us up where we belong. Never give up so much love. Take it one day at a time. With Christ, all things are possible. Thank you, Lord. And then everyone is sending loves and hearts. And Nicole is saying we believe it, and okay, fine. I'm just going through one comment here that actually, yes, Nicole is saying let's do this together. Okay, yeah. That's all I want to say.
Thank you so much for the interaction from our online and e-family that's out there that's watching us. Thank you so much. And if you have more comments, please drop it. We'd like to mention, give you a mention right here. Just one last thing before we head over to another section of this program. Something that's very profound for me, Evangelique, that stood out for me while you were talking now was that a lot of the times we think that this process, okay, this is for my child and my child's future. But the beautiful story for me here is that, yes, you're going through this with your child and your child's going through this, but what was in it for you? Your confidence now, and if I've known you for 7 years now, since I've married into the family, is a complete new you. And I must say, this new you, this confident you, this knowing who you are you, is such a beautiful you. It's a refreshing you. And all of that came in this journey. It came in the journey with you going through Scarlet. I know that there was a time when it was very difficult for you, and where, you know, there was a depressing time for you where it was just too much. But that was like the olive being pressed, that good oil came out, and now you can speak so confidently. And I think that could be so true for other mothers if you see that what you're going through now with your children, there's something in it for you. Take the time, ask God, what is it that I need to know? What is it that's enriching for me? Because now you can confidently say, my child is going to fulfill her purpose. I'm already seeing that coming into fruition. And as for you, you're a boss lady, you're a boss mom, you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business now. And that was coming from, I was just in the background. And I can attest to that. A lot of the times they would think that I'm Manda's daughter, when really you are. But now you have come into your own. You are your own person. And I think that can be true for so many other people. We've come to a part in our program that we just like to go over to Michaela right here. She'll be doing the offering for us, and then we'll head over to a little bit of a break.
Thank you so much, ANKA, and to the remarkable women leadership team that's allowed me to do the tithe talk today. So my tithe talk comes from Hebrews 11 verses 1, and it's quite a popular scripture, and it says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So I want us to focus on that now faith part, because when you get to Hebrews chapter 1 verses 23, it says, by faith Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict. Now faith. Jochebed had now faith. Not just now faith, not tomorrow faith. She didn't put it off. She did what she needed to do in that moment. You know, I think about it and I Googled it. I'm like, are there crocodiles in the river where Moses was put? There are. And it's like us with our finances. There are so many things that, you know, if you have to analyze giving, you will not give, because there's so many other things that you think of. But what Jochebed did is she said, God, beyond these waters, I trust you. And she reminds me so much of the words in Oceans. Beyond my borders, God, I'm trusting you, faith without borders. And you know what the beautiful thing was about God? He didn't just allow, because Jochebed's heart was that anybody will adopt her son. She just put him out into the water so that anybody can adopt a son. But God was so intentional. Because of her faith, Pharaoh's daughter was able to take him out of the water and adopt him. You know, when we trust God, we trust him. Sure, God, I'm just trusting you to come through just like this. But God always is in the process of surprising us. He does so much more than we ask him for. You see, Jochebed put her son into the water, and it was that same baby that was able to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. That's what God can do with our faith. So when we give today, let us now, don't hold it off. Give God your now faith. Trust him that he's going to do so much more than you could ever imagine. Amen. So if you're watching via live stream, the banking details will be on the screen below. And if you're in the auditorium, you can bring your offering to the front, and there are swiping facilities at the back as well. I just want to pray for the offering really quickly. Mighty Lord and Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Jesus, that when we don't know, Lord, we can trust you in the unknown. We can trust you, Lord, that you just lead us, mighty God. I just want to thank you, mighty God, that we can trust you, Lord, with our finances in these seasons, Lord. When we know that sometimes we rationalize it, God, but you will always come through for us, mighty God. I pray that you will, Lord, spur our hearts on to give to you, mighty God, because you're a good, good Father, Lord. Your promises are not in vain, mighty God. You use absolutely everything to work for our good, mighty God. So right now I pray, bless our offering, bless everyone that is able to give this morning, and bless everyone that is not able to give as well, mighty God. May all of our pockets run over. In Jesus' name, amen.
Crystal Church presents the vision, Destiny. D, Dream. Your dream is our dream.
If you are in the auditorium, you may now.
Hey, remarkable woman, you look left, you look right, there's excitement in the air. I'm super excited. Our annual camp is coming up on the 23rd to the 25th of September at Aeroton. I am so excited. It will be my first time at the camp and I'm definitely not missing this one. Ladies, please invite your sister, your friend, your mom, your cousin, your aunt. Anyone is welcome. The camp is 850 Rand all inclusive and a 450 Rand deposit is required on the 31st of May. Our banking details are on the screen below, or you can visit our iHub for more information. Ladies, let's unite and enjoy ourselves this September at Aeroton. We'll see you there.
Thank you for joining us today. You can connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thank you very much, Michaela. That was such a beautiful word from you. And we just want to end off today with a few closing remarks. Evangelique, would you like to go first?
Okay. A few closing remarks. Okay, you heard my testimony, and it was about Scarlett. But as it is Mother's Day, I would like to encourage mothers. Like I spoke and I said that it took my daughter's process for me to become who I am today. I want to encourage moms not to forget themselves. I even started a whole company based on it because moms are always forgotten. And even as a mother, you forget yourself. Myself and ANKA made a joke, was it with you in the week? And somebody got a gift as a mother, but the gift was washing powder. And we were like, when did it become that a gift to a mother is something to tell you work around the house? It's snacks for the kids. It's a pot. It's those kind of things. And the mother is forgotten. I am a woman. I also want to look nice. I also have interests and those kind of things. So as a mother, before other people can start respecting you, respect yourself. Don't forget who you are as a woman, because before you were a mother, you are a woman. And to become a mother, somebody thought you were a beautiful woman. So keep that beauty and let it shine in you through confidence, through looking good, through so many things that you take for granted for after looking after the family. Don't forget the family, but continue to live up to the standard that you know you were and can be greater. Because before kids, we on this, I am this, I am that, I am that, and we slowly lose our interest as time goes. And just if you have lost everything, I lost everything in terms of interest. And slowly I started building everything up. It's not too late. Start doing your hair again. Start looking good. That your partner even thinks, what's going on here now? But you're doing it for you, not for anybody else. So I would like to leave you with that. And let's encourage each other as a team to sit in each other's space comfortably and complain about my own personal issues. It's not skinnering, Because I'm not speaking about the auntie next door. I'm sharing with you so that we can just be in each other's complaints. And then let me complain finish, Michaela. Before you tell me what I'm supposed to do next. Let's complain and say, okay, I heard you out after your venting, but now, don't do this on your status. Don't do that. Let's be there for each other, even up until that extent. Yeah.
So I'll just come in there. So I actually put up a status on Instagram yesterday, and it was like, you know, sometimes your partners, they come with logic. And in the moment, you don't want the logic. I definitely agree. Let us have those sessions where we can just vent. But Vanji, you know, in closing, I want to say, you know, you have such a different kind of strength. And I admire you so much. And what I say by different, it's an unseen strength. Because I watch you every Sunday and I'm so inspired. Because I don't see you on the floor. Sure, maybe it happens that, you know, your faith is tested, but I don't see that. And sometimes when I'm going through something, I'll be like, yo, the way Vanji handled that, maybe I can do it too. And I think there's so many other young women who have that. You know, I admire you so much. I see your therapy sessions, I think it's Thursdays, and then I see your statuses as well, and I think someone also, you spoke at a Cochlear event once, and that for me is so incredibly inspiring, to not get stuck in why is this happening to me, but rather how can I assist others. The fact that, you know, because it could have taken, it took Moses 40 years, but it didn't take you 40 years to step into that calling of encouraging others. So I just want to say I'm so inspired by you, and so continue doing it, because there are so many of us looking at you and saying, you know what, we can do it too. When we're going through hectic things, we can do it too, because like even someone said in the e-comments, you know, just because you do the right thing doesn't mean bad things happen to you. And now when bad things happen to you as a good person, you're like, man, but that Vanji could have gotten through that. So thank you, Vanji. Keep doing you. I love all your honest posts, and I just hope that you continue in your vulnerability.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my closing word. I want to extend it to Evangelique and everyone watching, and the ladies that's here in the auditorium. And you know, I firstly want to say I admire you, and the one thing that I do really admire about Evangelique is when, you know, when a lady goes through something, you can see it in their faces. I like droog, I like asphalt. You know, it's like when we go through certain things, you can see it in one's face. You can look at it, it just shows, it's evident. But with Evangelique, it's like the way she carries herself. You know, she always looks nice, she always looks stunning, and you know, and it kind of gives us hope. And we all have listened to Evangelique's story, and we can relate in our own ways. You know, we all have our own stories, our children and our husband, whatever it may be. I just want to encourage everyone, you know, like I said, trust the process. And there's a journey, throughout this whole journey, there's a process and there's certain things you have to evolve. You're going to evolve through this whole situation. See what you can gather from it and how you have become a better person through this whole situation. And just keep going, ladies. We all have our situations, we all have our trials, and we all have our calamities. But just trust the process and have faith. Step out in faith and do what Jochebed did. She stepped out in faith, and if it means it's just a prayer, it's faith.
Thank you so much, Jerry. I just want to say that, ladies, remember who you are and who's watching. Yeah. Because not only are your kids watching, other women are watching you. Others are looking to you for some kind of support, see where they can draw from you. And also as a mother, you hold the future of your children. Because Jochebed could have just said, I'm not doing this, or this is my child, and a child could have been killed. Vanji could have said, no, I can't do this, I'm not doing this. And Scarlett would have just been where we'd left her 1 year and 4 months. But she's so much further. You as a mother holds that key. Remember, somebody else is watching you. On that note, I'd like to say thank you very much, Evangelique, for spending the time with us. We really enjoyed it, and there's so much that we learned from you. Sorry, I can't hear.
Again.
Okay. Sorry about that. Terry, Michaela, thank you very much for spending the time with us as well. And I hope you guys have gotten something from this today. And I know that there's so much more that we can speak about Jochebed, that we can speak about the life of a woman, the life of a mother. But and then also, I'd like to thank Pastor Joan, who plays a pivotal part in both Evangelique's life and my life, and affording us as remarkable women this opportunity where we could just speak and spend time in the Word. So thank you very much. We'll have a good session after this with the mothers that are on the floor. We'll have a good session after this. So we say this every time. There's always an interactive session afterwards. If you don't want to miss out, be here, join us. It's nice. Everyone gets to spend some time with each other. They get to know each other, and also just come and relax.
Yes. So just on that, ANKA, we were just reminded that, as Vanji said, let us have sessions where we can just be girls, vent, talk about our problems in a safe space. So guys, please don't forget, and everyone in the auditorium as well, we have our camp coming up in September. Let me tell you this much. Last year's camp was a session. It was so enjoyable. And from that, sisterhoods were built. I still speak to so many people, and I have coffees with them, and I connect with them. We created so many safe spaces from that incredibly safe space. So please, everyone, make sure to join us in September for our camp. You don't want to miss that one.
Thank you. So from us, it's goodbye.
Bye.